Gambia's Chief of Defense Staff has urged the army to maintain close ties with civilians. COVID-19 restrictions in schools raises concern among parents in the Gambia. And President Barrow returned from Saudi Arabia after a 7-day state visit. Well, these and more coming your way in Gambia 24. You're watching the Gambia 24 News Bulletin on iAfrica TV. Once again, many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kantia. Now the news in detail. Now, the Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Yakuba A. Drame, has on Tuesday held a meeting with the soldiers of Block Military Camp as part of his ongoing nationwide tour, or military tour. While addressing the gathering, the CDS urged soldiers not to be aggressors to civilians, instead be their protectors and survivors, as they constitute the majority in society. Here's more details of that in this report by Amindao.
For a betterment of any country, the relationship between the military and the civilians should always be cordial. There is always peace, security and development in any country where there is mutual collaboration and trust between the military and the civil society. As ensuring peace and security is everybody's business, promoting and safeguarding national security is the responsibility of all, including the civilian population. The Chief of Defense Staff, Yakuba A. Drame, shared his thoughts with the soldiers on how to strengthen a good working relationship with the civilians.
It behoves you and I to cultivate and sustain a healthy working relationship with your brothers and sisters outside uniforms. If you look at it, we're all from homes, and we shall all go back to homes. Today we are privileged to wear uniform, because that's our choosing career. But remember, come May, one day, whether we like it or not, either by design or circumstances, we may want to cast down this uniform and go back to civil life. Now, if you leave, how do you want to be embraced back into the society? How do you want to reintegrate into the society? Ask yourself those questions. Whatever you do in life, strongly I can share this with you, it's temporal. There is nothing permanent. Before me, there were CDS. Today I'm the CDS. Tomorrow somebody will come as a CDS.
As civilians compose the majority, CDS urged his men to protect and save their lives and not to be their aggressors.
I'm impressed. I've been told that you have a good working relationship with the locals of this village. That is what is expected. You cannot have it less than that, but rather see how you can further enhance the relationship between you and the community that constitute the majority. We're just a drop in the ocean. They are in the majority, and we should be seen as their protectors and their saviors, not aggressors. Anybody found one thing, it is not going to be taken lightly.
Since such a relationship is healthy for every nation, it is a challenge for all democratic governments to ensure a more cordial civil-military relationship. The protection of any country's sovereignty and territorial integrity is the primary function of the military. Meanwhile, the military tour, which commenced on Monday, 21st June 2021, is aimed at getting first-hand information on the living and working conditions of the soldiers. The tour also includes the inspection of ongoing building projects at barracks, meant to ease accommodation for the men and women serving in the country's armed forces. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
The Gambia Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Yakuba A. Drame, advised his men and women in uniform to maintain cordial ties with civilians. Now, President Adama Barrow landed at the Banjul International Airport at 8 p.m. on Tuesday upon completing a 7-day visit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He had engagement with Saudi authorities and signed memorandum of understanding with charity organizations as well as officially of the opening of the multi-million-dollar new embassy and ambassador's residence in Riyadh. Our reporter Omar Ahmad Toure tells us more of that in this report.
The president performed a lesser pilgrimage, Umrah, and carried out other official functions during the week-long stay in Saudi. The president talked to the press about his trip at the foot of the aircraft upon his return.
And we engaged with the Saudi authorities in a wide range of issues, of course, wise. And we engaged also with our partners, the Islamic Development Bank, the Saudi Fund. We also engaged with charity organizations. We signed memorandum of understanding with the Foundation. Basically, it was a very busy trip, and we also performed Umrah and prayed for this country. We have peace, we have also organized a very peaceful and transparent election.
The 15th Organization of Islamic Cooperation Summit set to hold in Gambia has suffered some setbacks in the infrastructure development, which warranted shifting it to 2022. Barrow had an audience with the sponsors and partners, especially Saudi Fund.
Saudi Fund, they are the one funding the OIC roads, and we have sent our reports. We are still waiting for confirmation, and we engage them so that definitely we are behind schedule. So we want their confirmation. Also very soon we will have something to start the process.
Fatuba Barrow's foundation has come under criticism when about $35 million was transferred into the foundation's Guaranteed Trust Bank account in 2017. This brought outrage among Gambians who sought an explanation. The source of that money still remains unknown. However, President Barrow signed an agreement with two charities in Saudi and says they bankrolled the First Lady's foundation.
What Barrow was saying is that this is a memorandum of understanding. These are charity organizations, and they are supporting the foundation. But there were no official memorandum of understanding agreement between them. They are signed those agreements. It is now formalized. I think Gambia will benefit from it. Thank you so much.
The Gambia will take over chairmanship of Organization of Islamic Cooperation from Saudi Arabia when it hosts the world's biggest Islamic convergence by June next year. The country has prioritized 6 projects for OIC. Among them is construction of a double-lane road along Batil Harding Highway, 20 over roads that links it, a conference center among others. With exactly 12 months away from the summit, it is only the conference center that has been completed, so the country's chance of hosting the 2022 Organization of Islamic Conference is very slim. Reporting for iAfrica TV, this is Omar Ahmad Toure.
And from the report there by Omar Ahmad Toure on President Barrow's return from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, now to matters of the National Assembly. Lawmakers have on Tuesday continued the consideration and scrutinization process of the Persons with Disabilities Bill 2020. The country's parliamentarians were given the opportunity to make detailed consideration and scrutinize the bill, as well as make some amendments before final adoption. Here's details of that in this report by Ndesisa.
The bill is intended to make provisions for the healthcare, protection and promotion of basic rights for persons with disabilities. In the Gambia, many people with disabilities said they face social stigma, discrimination and prejudice for various reasons. However, nominated member Ndeye Yasin Seka, who is representing the visually impaired persons at the National Assembly, proposed that the Assembly should not continue with the UN conventions as this may not be applicable for the Gambia, looking at the condition of disabilities in the country.
When we are saying that the international law should be followed, I think this is we are domesticating it because we have already ratified the UN Convention and we have signed it. So we should not continue with what the UN says because something may be applicable in other countries but not applicable in our country, especially persons with disabilities. So instead of saying to minimize, I think we should try, because we started that yesterday and we did not complete. I think we should say to eradicate is what we need. Like what is happening in the Gambia, what are we minimizing? Look at the plight of persons with disability. Where are we and where are we heading at? I think we should make it better than following what the international. It's true, we should follow the international, but we should also look at what is applicable in our country.
Part of the consideration of the bill is Clause 3, which consists of the disabilities coding, which shall determine if impairment has a long-term effect on a person in Section 3 of the bill. As some of the lawmakers proposed the omission of this clause from the bill due to lack of clarity, the Minister of Women's Affairs, Children and Social Welfare, Fatu Kinte, made some clarification on the clause before it was amended.
The law is coming up with a mechanism to provide coding. Yes, because the law cannot do the coding. The mechanism here is we are going to get an expert who will do the coding. So the law is making provision for a mechanism for the coding. Yeah.
The principle of the Disabilities Bill is meant to promote human freedoms, respect for human dignity, as well as individual choices and the independence of persons with disabilities. Although the Constitution of the Gambia clearly guaranteed the freedom of fundamental human rights and equality for all in the country, the lives of persons with disabilities are handicapped by physical and social barriers in the society. This hampers their full participation, as thousands of them in all parts of the country often face life that is seemingly segregated and debased. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Desise.
Desise reporting there on matters of the National Assembly as lawmakers continue to discuss matters of national development. And from that report, we'll now take a break and come back shortly. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. More stories coming ahead.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Welcome back, and this is Africa TV, and once again many thanks for joining us. And now to the rest of the stories. Now, villages in Mandwar in West Coast region have on Tuesday clashed of alkalosip and attestation for voter registration in the said village. They accused the government of causing the commotion in the village and bringing problems among themselves. About 7 individuals were arrested and 3 others were injured, one of which was rushed to the hospital. Binta Jallo tells us more of that in this report.
A village in the West Coast region had serious clashes among themselves earlier on Tuesday. The clash was between the people of Tuba Manduar and Manduar Mandinka. As tension escalated, the police intervention unit was deployed to arrest the situation, but ended up throwing tear gas to disperse the mob. The Independent Electoral Commission, Assistant Inspector General of Police, the National Assembly member for Marakisa constituency, and other senior government officials came to the village and held a meeting with some of the villagers to see ways of settling the problem, but their efforts bear no fruit. Fansumane, a younger brother to the village alcalo, said the police went into his compound and threw tear gas at his pregnant wife, which led to her being rushed to the hospital immediately.
So brani wa kele don paral na da katiaga so fay mol kono registered la katan defon la so kono na so fele koma jang.
The police intervention unit came here and started throwing tear gas at us. They even went to my house where my pregnant wife was sitting at the time, and they threw tear gas at her. She fell on her stomach, and as we speak, she is at the hospital. This is what is happening here. Just look at the road. You can notice that a lot of them are standing here.
The National Assembly member for the constituency, Honorable Lamin Sane, said the situation is very alarming, further explaining the root cause of the problem.
Other places did their registration, no complaint. But why Manduar Tuba specifically? And they are claiming that I had this story, because that's why I want to go and meet the alkali, especially to hear from the horse's mouth whether he has been given that authority to be an alkali. Are they a village of their own, or they are within Manduara? So this is what I want to know. And why should they bring? Because 2016 there was election in Manduar here, and this was done smoothly. They were all registered here and they all voted here.
According to Bubakar Seka, the Alcalo of Tuba Manduar, they went through the right process but were attacked by the people of Manduar Mandinka.
When we went there to set up, they took our table and threw it behind the mosque. We did not fight them or even quarrel with them. So they left and fought Umar and wounded him. And another boy called Ngari. They are at the hospital right now.
Attestation has been a problem in the country since the start of the voter registration process. About 7 people were arrested by the Gambia police force, and at least 3, namely Omar Sise, Ngari Gay, and Maud Sise, were injured during the protests. For IFK News, Binta Jallo.
Binta Jallo reporting there. And finally tonight on this Gambia 24 News Bulletin, we wrap it up with COVID-19 news, because the emergency of the COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted the educational system in many countries, including the Gambia. With the close of schools across the country during the peak of the pandemic, the performance of school children seriously deteriorated. Now parents are worried. One of them told Africa TV that she is concerned of her child's performance due to the lack of irregular school attendance. Now, Aissatou B.I. Kujabi has more details of that in this report.
In order to keep children safe from contracting the coronavirus, the Ministry of Education has limited the days in which students are supposed to go to school. In some schools in the Gambia, students attend classes only 3 a week, leaving some parents worried about the state of their children's educational outlook. Speaking to iAfrica TV, Rohisi, a parent, said the newly introduced school attendance system affected her child's performance. She appeals to the Ministry of Education to allow students to attend classes normally through the week.
Since grade 7, because grade 7, 2 days they got them.
For my child, it has affected her a lot since grade 7, because that was the grade she was going for 2 days, Thursdays and Saturdays. So now they have changed that when they went to grade 8, this time is 3 days a week. She did not complete her syllabus in grade 7 and 8, and now what is she going to do when she reaches grade 9?
Fatma Tarawale, a grade 9 student of the New Life Academy Center, told iAfrica TV that the limited days that have been introduced are affecting them.
Yeah, it affects a lot, especially with the grade 9s. It affects us a lot. And we need a time, that it will favor us. A constant time, that Monday to Friday we should be coming to school. Because these 4 days of coming to school, due to that we are not able to even cover a lot of topics. So it won't even help us in our exams.
Despite the growing concern, the Deputy Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education said not every school is affected by the new school restriction.
Like I said, we have what we call the alternation method or model, whereby certain children have to go for certain days and another group has to go for another number of days. But that is to affect only 23 schools nationally. And they are found mainly in the combos. Because even in Banjul, it used to be Gambia High School that was affected, and Muslim High School is not affected because the population is not much as it used to be. Schools like St. Teresa's, Ladrikunda, these are the big schools. And nationally, 23 of them were supposed to be doing that.
According to Mr. Job, the school restrictions are meant to protect students from contracting the virus, but admitted that it could also affect their academic performance.
Yeah, I mean, we would say it has, because when you look at the contact hours, as I said, internationally, we're talking about 888 hours that children need to have contact with their teachers in every academic year. Now, obviously, if you were supposed to be going 5 and now you are going 3 days, for example, you're losing some time. So that would actually affect your contact time. And the fact that your contact time is affected, we can assume very reasonably that it can affect academics.
After the country registered its first coronavirus case on 17 March, schools, lumos, bars, nightclubs and other public places were closed to minimize the spread of the virus, which claimed at least 117 lives in the country. The Gambia has made important gains in ensuring access to education, but now the focus falls on learning outcomes, which is a huge challenge in the educational effort to ensure quality education for all Gambian children. For iAfrica News, I am Aissatou Biaye Kujabi.
And that report there by Aissatou Biaye Kujabi finally bring this news bulletin to an end. But for more details on this, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on iAfrica.tv. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and do have a pleasant night. Bye-bye.
They say we slept in one world and woke up in another.